All right, we are 5 days out from July 1st UFA, and it feels like things are kind of calming down. So the players that are going to be uh, given qualifying offers, it's happened. Those who haven't are good. And now here we are with some news of the day kind of stuff for today. Mike Reilly has signed a 2-year extension with the Montreal Canadiens for $1.5 million per year. I would do a video specifically on that, but I don't have a whole lot to add. It's a risk-free signing basically, and so he extends his time in Montreal for 2 more years. Now Carolina is showing apparently that they're leaning towards buying out Scott Darling, which is strange. But I'm wondering if at this point maybe it's because Mrazek wants money and McElhinney and so maybe they're going. Okay, has two goalies down. And maybe they're thinking about keeping Scott Darling on the books at least until October. So they're leaning towards a buyout, but the fact that they haven't started that process, I think is very interesting. Because, a month ago we were reporting, yeah, they're going to buy him out. And now, maybe. Um, with rumors that Luongo is going to retire, and these rumors are out there, and Elliot Friedman's posted his 31 thoughts, which always gets people talking, and there are a few items on here that have to do with what he's published because he's usually pretty darn accurate. And if Luongo does retire, it's a $3 million recapture penalty the Canucks get on their cap for 3 years, and it's a $1 million penalty for the Panthers. So because the Canucks signed that ridiculous contract, thanks Mike Gillis, that cap penalty goes back to Vancouver. But I think Vancouver will be okay because they're not really a cap strap team at this point. But over the next couple of years, that could definitely change. And Brock Besser could be the first domino to fall in that area. But if he does retire, there will be a nice video from this guy about it. And amazing career. And to me, absolutely should be a Hall of Famer, and he shouldn't have to wait very long to get that status. Restricted free agents are all out there, and it's sort of the way that it feels, and what's being rumored is that the agents are waiting to see who blinks first. So with the big name restricted free agents, the kids that are out there, it's a matter of, okay, we're going to wait and see which guy signs the first contract. Now, Austin Matthews' contract, I would think you can use as a template right out front, where you can say, okay, we're not signing the 8 years, we want 5, because we want flexibility within 5 years. That if my client ends up being a 50 goal scorer, he should be able to get paid 5 years down the road. Whereas, being tied in for 8 years means no. And so this is where they're headed. And there was on, I'm trying to think, it wasn't Bob McCown, because he's retired, and happy retirement to Bob McCown. But on his show on Primetime Sports, Brian Burke keeps saying, Matthews is signed for 5 years. In 5 years, he's gone. And he said he's not going to pay Canadian income tax for his entire career. He's going to want to pay less tax somewhere else and make more money. So he will continue to say this, and it will cause some people to kind of flinch a little bit. But 5 years is a long time. So this is how I feel about it. 5 years is a very long contract. It is not a small contract. And I don't blame these kids for saying I want 5 years. So my guess is Marner probably sticks to his guns and wants 5 years. And then there will be guys like Laine who know they can perform better than they did this past year, who might be willing to sign a shorter term contract and say, I will earn a lot more money at the end of this contract. I'll make you guys wish you'd sign that long term contract. So restricted free agents are going to be the big newsmakers this summer. And Kyle Connor is definitely one to watch for Winnipeg as well. Because if we're talking about offer sheets, I could totally see a team throwing an offer sheet at Connor. Connor does a little bit of everything. The guy's a beast out there, and somebody might be willing to sacrifice first round draft picks for a while to get Connor on the books. On an unrelated note, though, there's been a lot of talk about maybe Panarin to Colorado. Colorado I don't have on the board, but the one thing I was reading with Colorado is that they have a lot of big names up with Rantanen this year, Barry next year, And they're already looking down the road and going, in 4 years, we're going to have to renew McKinnon. They want to make sure they've got cap flexibility. So they may very well be maximizing the amount of cap space they have right now, so they don't have to worry 2-3 years down the road and have the kind of cap situation that the teams find themselves in, like Vegas. Vegas is already 10% above the cap. That is the highest you can go, even in the offseason. Vegas cannot sign anybody at this stage. The Carlson contract's the last one they're going to sign until they move some money. So this is where getting rid of Clarkson's contract kind of has to happen sooner rather than later. And I would think if there were any takers, it probably would have happened at the draft. So we may be in a situation where teams don't feel like doing a favor for Vegas. Where teams are like, Vegas kind of screwed us over at the expansion draft and made us look like fools. So maybe we don't feel like doing them a favor right now. So Vegas is going to have to move some money before they're going to be able to sign anybody to anything because they are above the cap right now by 10%. They have absolutely no room. So Gusev is going to be a Vegas Golden Knight. I've seen some crazy threads here and there online, like, oh, somebody should offer sheet Gusev. It would be ridiculous to sign a bunch. Because here's the thing, Gusev hasn't played a game in North America. So there is that danger, there is that inherent flaw that if you're going to pay a guy who hasn't played a game in North America since coming over to join Vegas, you're risking putting big money and potentially giving up draft picks for a guy who maybe he busts. Maybe he doesn't work out. So yeah, he could be a good goal scorer. He could be a good player. He could do all these wonderful things, or he could bust. I don't see GMs lining up for Gusev. For people looking for hockey, development camps are on their way. Vancouver's got their development camp going. There'll be other teams doing their development camps. Keep your eyes open because you will get the inter-squad games between prospects on one team and prospects on the other. I went to that last year for Vancouver, and it was a fun game. It was a fun chance to see Quinn Hughes in the Canucks jersey and see him out there, and get an idea for how far along he was and how close he might be. So this is that time of year where, yeah, we kind of go through hockey withdrawals, but you can still see some hockey and watch where your team's prospects are at. One question mark that's still out there, one guy that didn't get moved during the draft that was likely expected to be, is Zucker. Now, the thing with Jason Zucker is that Minnesota doesn't have to move him, but they seem to be actively trying. One thing that Elliot Friedman reported was that on the draft floor, there were constant rumors about Zucker, attaching him to different teams at different times. I know with Vancouver, the rumor was, and again, this is just rumor, that what they wanted back in whatever trade package was being offered was Brock Besser was part of it, and the Canucks went, no. So I have a funny feeling the asking price for Zucker is going to be high. And we will likely see a move when that ask comes down just a little bit. Because again, if you're trading him, you're trading a guy could score 30 goals. And so you don't want to be trading out a 30-goal scorer without getting some value back. But it definitely feels like Minnesota's doing everything they can to get him moved as soon as possible. And I kind of feel bad for the guy because he didn't have a bad year. I didn't blame him for the season Minnesota had or for them missing the playoffs. He doesn't get the Toby Reeder award for me at all. That's Toby Reeder's award because he was Toby Reeder. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with Zucker. Let me know in the comment section below where you think he might end up or where you think that trade ends up happening. Or if you think, he'll just end up staying with Minnesota. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.